So, the highly anticipated Spider-Man 2 has finally come out. I've completed the game, I've actually got the platinum in it, and so I want to tackle this review in two different ways. One is the way of just the merit of the game by itself, but also how good of a sequel is it to the other two Spider-Man games that Insomniac has already made. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. So, let's start with the presentation of the game. I feel like it was very well done across the board, from sound design, to score, to graphics, to animation. It was all very well done. I think it shines particularly in the boss fights and encounters, from say the Sandman fight at the start of the game to the fight with Kraven and the fight with Venom. It's all very well done. It does a good job of setting the tone, of making certain moments feel intense and really dire, and good job of setting the atmosphere overall. Say the score, I think the score was well done, but it's not something that, well, for me personally, it's not like music you would listen to outside of the game, but it does a good job of setting the tone and atmosphere. I would also have to say that the voice acting cast across the board does a great job, and also the sound design was very great, from say the noises Venom makes and the symbiote makes, to the noises Lizard makes, to the web swinging, to the punching. All of it is done very well. The graphics are, I just played Spider-Man Remastered. The graphics are a noticeable step up from Miles Morales and Spider-Man Remastered, but I do feel like as a whole games are kind of getting to diminishing returns with graphics. So it does look better, but it just doesn't wow me like, I guess, like PS3 era games, versus PS2 era games used to. But it's not really a problem with this game, just an assessment. So overall, I think I give presentation an A. It's done very well, but I do think there are some games that do it a little better. For instance, God of War Ragnarok, I think, does it just a little better. But it was still very well done in this game. So, now let's move on to the story. While I surprisingly have the most issues with this game, I feel like the story overall is enjoyable but flawed. I feel like it has some pretty good highs, some pretty great moments, but it fails to tell an overall cohesive and coherent story. Like, for instance, there are two main characters and there's also two main villains, and so they have to all get a good amount of screen time, but also there's another returning character that gets a decent amount of screen time. Harry gets some, MJ gets a pretty good amount, and I just think it all kind of unfocused, and they failed to make it really feel like all these stories tying together into one coherent story. And I feel like a lot of different characters, overall character arcs, suffered because of it. So let me show you what I mean. For instance, Kraven's character arc. I think his setup was done pretty well, but the more you learn about him, the more you learn about his backstory, and the way the game portrays him at certain times, it really made my interest in him like wane throughout the game. And one thing is also, I know he's supposed to be like this great hunter, but in this game you really see like his lackeys doing most of the hunting. Really, I get that they're supposed to catch whoever he's after and then set it up so that person and Kraven can have this one-on-one like showdown, but you don't really see the one-on-one showdown ever in this game. So it just looks like Kraven does hardly anything and his goons just catch everybody for him, which is not how I would portray someone who's supposed to be a great hunter. Now, moving on to Venom, I think Venom's setup was a little mixed. I felt a little choppy, the pacing of how you learn of the symbiote. It felt a little choppy how they presented the story, but I feel like the ending, the payoff to Venom's story is done very, very well, and I feel like it's arguably the best part of the game. And so it's very mixed. That's what I mean by the story is enjoyable but flawed. And to wrap it up with Miles and Peter, I definitely feel like they suffer from similar issues because their stories are linked thematically, which is the balance between being Spider-Man and spending time with the people they care about. For instance, Miles' story is about, well, his personal story is about how he has to do this big essay because he's about to graduate high school and he's trying to get accepted into a college he would like. And they do the setup and they mention this essay multiple times throughout the game. And my issue is I don't really feel like they ever do a good job of showing how he figures out how to have balance between being Spider-Man and being Miles. And I feel like it's the same issue with Peter, where they show him hanging out with Harry and MJ and how he has missed out on certain things in his life because of being Spider-Man, and now he doesn't want that to happen anymore. And they try to give a conclusion where he solves that problem, but I don't really feel like it did a good job of showing how he figured out how to solve the problem, how he got to the conclusion he needed to figure out the balance of being Spider-Man and being Peter Parker. Oh, and one last thing, like I said, MJ gets a lot of screen time, but I feel like it's pretty useless. I don't feel like it adds to the overall plot or anyone's character arc or any themes in the game's writing. So it's just there. Like her story's about having to write this big article so she doesn't get fired from her job. It seemed pretty pointless to me. But overall, there are some great moments in the story. For instance, the ending. There's things that happen during the ending that really make it intense and the situation seem dire, and they did a great job with that. So overall, I'm going to give the story a C+. It has issues, but like I said, it is enjoyable. Now on to the gameplay. This is the big part where I feel like there's a difference between if you're just reviewing the game in a vacuum or if you're reviewing the game as a sequel to see what it adds to the other games that have come before it. Because the gameplay in this game, it's super good. It's very fun. But I really feel like it didn't add that much than the other games. And again, I just played Spider-Man Remastered before this game came out. So I really don't see that big of a difference for what they added. They added a parry mechanic, and it's there, but it doesn't really add a whole other layer to the gameplay. Now, both characters do get new abilities. Of course, Peter gets the symbiote, and so he gets symbiote abilities, and they're very good and they're very fun. But they don't really change anything. They're just different abilities that are similar to what's already been done before. And same with Miles. Miles gets new abilities, and they are fun to use. They're fun to try out. But I think they failed to really take the gameplay to like another level. It's still very fun. It's still very good, but it was just a lack of a significant improvement with the combat to me in this game. And really, you could say it's even worse when it comes to the stealth, because the only thing they really added was this webline ability, which allows you to make new things to walk on over top of enemies, which honestly just makes the stealth sections even easier. Now, the stealth is still, it does fine enough job of being a change of pace from the combat, so you just don't fight everything and it becomes monotonous. But overall, I just feel like they didn't do anything creative with the stealth in this game. And I legitimately think the webline ability, and you can now like double take down enemies from stealth. That's like, I genuinely think that's the only things that added to the stealth. I can't think of anything else. I even looked and checked. Pretty sure that's the only thing. But to get to a positive and give credit where it's due, we can talk about what has been a highlight of all these games, which is the movement mechanics and traversal. And they added arguably the biggest thing to the gameplay, which is the web wing suits, which are very fun to use, and they do add a kind of a new layer to moving around, and they do a good job of making it feel fresh. But I do wish you could do a little more with the web suits. Like, I wish you could do special tricks or something while you're gliding, because pretty much when you do anything and you're gliding, you come immediately out of the web suit. So that's my one nitpick with that. But overall, the traversal is great. I feel like, honestly, in this game, they didn't use it enough. There's a few chase scenes, but I really feel like they could have done more to make interesting set pieces with the web swinging in this game. It's so great, which is interesting because I kind of had a criticism of how it was used, as it was kind of used as a crutch for boring side quest design in the first game. I feel like it's not used enough in this game, and in the side quest in the main story, the web swinging is not used. So in a large way, it's just used to get from one quest to another, and I feel like that's a missed opportunity because it's one of the best parts of this game. Now, to wrap up the gameplay section, even though I did have a lot of criticism, it's really coming from the angle of, I feel like they could have definitely done a lot more to add to the foundation they already had in the prior games. However, the gameplay in this game is definitely well designed and very enjoyable. So overall, I would still give it an A-. It's just, I felt like they could have done more to really change up the game mechanics that were already here. And this is what I really mean when I say reviewing the game on its own merits versus as a sequel. On its own merits, reviewing the game in a vacuum, it's a very good game. And, you know, if you compare it to games that came out this year, it's definitely better than most of the other games. But as a sequel and improvement on the other two games that have already come out, I feel it's very lackluster. So to give it a grade as a sequel, I would honestly give it like a C-. But to give it a grade just as a game on its own, which I do feel is the more important grade, I would give it a B+. So thank you for watching the video, especially if you watched this long. Like and subscribe and share if you would like. And thanks for watching, and God bless.